Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing 1979 by Val McDermid. This is the book. And I will put the cover of the book up in the video as we go along. So, the reason I picked up this book to read at the library is because I've read other Val McDermid books, and I do enjoy her other series. I haven't read them all, and I do plan to read them all, but I thought, this is a new series by an author that I've enjoyed. Let's give it a go. It didn't take me too long to realise that this plot was not going to be as strong as the other books I've read by this author. So the plot centres around main character Ellie. Ellie is returning to Scotland after about, I think, 5 years being away in England, and she's returning to Scotland because she's being given a job in a Scottish newspaper. So bear in mind, this is 1979, so at this stage, female journalists really had to prove their mettle. It wasn't easy for them. We find that she develops a friendship with a guy called Denny Sullivan, and they become really close friends really quickly. Early on in their friendship, Denny lets slip that he's got his eyes on a big story. He just needs to find out a few more key facts. And later on, he ropes in Ellie to help. And he ropes Ellie in mainly because she's really good with words and he's not, which is strange because they're both reporters. You'd think that all reporters should be good with words. So they both investigate this case, this story, and it leads to a big scoop, and they start getting a big name for themselves in their paper. Ellie herself comes across something of a story as well, and that's just a little bit coincidental, really. I mean, two young reporters coming across two big stories. You know, it's a little bit much in this plot. Maybe it seems a bit over-egged, I'm not sure. So Ellie asks Denny to help, and she needs Denny's help because she thinks that the group she's investigating won't believe her story, won't let her in because she's a female. Denny goes undercover, and they both set about investigating and exposing this group and the thing that this group's doing. It's another big scoop for them, but during this period we do find out Denny's hiding a big secret of his own, and that secret could cause a bit of damage to maybe himself or other people as the story unfolds. The last big twist in this book I won't give away, because if I do give it away, it makes the rest of the book useless to read. I'll just say it's a big twist. I think it's something that could have been handled in a separate book. Maybe it could have been book 2, because I think it deserves a bigger stage. I think this twist is so important. It deserves a bigger stage and a bigger story all on its own. But the author chose to put it all into one book. I'm not sure why. Maybe because without this twist, the rest of the book, even though it was interesting, didn't have anything that was really a big wow moment, you know, that big earth-shattering moment. So this one twist for the last third of the book, that is the big moment in this book. So even though this book is called 1979 and it's set in 1979 in Scotland, I didn't walk away feeling that I was too immersed in 1979 in Scotland. The author threw in some names of bands, movies, TV shows that would have been around at the time, I feel. But other than that, I didn't really get a feel for anything else that would lead me to think it was 1979 Scotland. We see the class struggle, and we see, I guess, unemployment, that sort of thing going on. We get the sense that a lot of the Scottish aren't happy with the English, but that could be any period in the last 40, 50 years, maybe even more. There's nothing really that pinpoints to me 1979 Scotland. As for the rest of the setting, we get a lot of descriptions of snow, bad weather, that sort of thing, of people eating a lot of takeout. I don't know if that's typical of Scotland. There's certain foods that are mentioned that I presume are more Scottish, but nothing really cements me in that time period when I read this novel, and I think that's a bit of a shame. The newsroom that they all work in, you know, it doesn't have any tech, you know, everything's done by phone, there's typewriters, so that puts us in a period before the desktop PC. So of course, you know, desktop PCs are probably around about the 80s. I would have thought they'd been in newsrooms. So that kind of pushes it back a bit in the time frame. But I really wanted to be centered more in that period, and I just didn't come across that in the novel. The main character is Annie Burns. She's a reporter who comes back from England. She's not a bad character, actually. You get the sense of all her emotions and how clever she is. You also get her frustration at being treated differently, or almost like a second-class citizen because she's a woman in a newsroom. So you get all that in this character, and I thought that was clever. She's very strong as a character, and I think the author did a really good job of creating a well-rounded character in Annie Burns. If the other parts of the plot, just the mystery element and the tension in the plot, were better, I would have enjoyed the character even more. Denny Sullivan, a really good character, and probably a standout in this novel. His positivity, you can't just help but like him, and that secret he carries with himself. I guessed it early on before it was exposed in the novel. I just get a sense this character is really good, and I think this character was more of a standout to me than Annie Burns. The rest of the characters are pretty much stereotypes. That can be seen two ways. It can be seen as being a bit lazy by the author, just give us stereotypes because that's what we expect, or maybe that's what people would really like in those positions at that time. In some sense, with these characters, we feel like we have to trust the author because the author worked as a news reporter. I just feel the other characters were just too much of a stereotype, and I feel like throwing a little bit of creativity into some of those characters would have helped a lot. I'll just mention a couple of them. So Carlisle, who's the newsroom chief or boss, I'm not sure of the actual title that he carries. He comes across as just a bit like a Simpsons character. You know, that sort of stereotype that the Simpsons love to put into their cartoons. Every time I saw him, pictured him in this novel, I just pictured the stereotypical newspaper chief that I'd see in any other TV show or movie. And I just thought that was a bit unfortunate and a bit lazy on part of the author. The other character I'll mention is Rona. Now she just seems like, I guess, a token character, really, and very stereotypical in some ways. And I thought that was a little bit lazy as well. She's very colourful as a character, and she also came across as a bit like the comic relief in the story. I really think that if she had a bit more contrast, she would have been a bit of a better character and a bit more of a standout. But at the moment when I think of Rona, I just think of loud, brash, almost or also like a cartoon character. So overall, I didn't think this was too bad. I didn't hate it. The mystery element was good for the most part. I did enjoy the twist, the strong twist. I thought it was unfortunate the character that was the focus of the twist. It seemed stereotypical in the choice of victim, I should say. But when we add up some of the good characters, some of the good plot moments, the mystery at the end was good for the last third of the novel. I did enjoy that. I was surprised at the end with the twist, and the very end with the twist as well. I was surprised at that with the culprit. So I give this a 2.5 out of 5. Unfortunately, if you're already on Goodreads, you can't do 2.5, so you'd have to round it up to 3. But as this is my video and my review, 2.5 out of 5. I don't think I'll read any more in this series, so I do hope that Val McDermid writes more in her other series, because if she doesn't, I hope she writes a new series with a new character, because this one just doesn't grip me at all and doesn't make me want to seek out any further novels in this series.